Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday morning Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show. I'm Nighthawk, one of your hosts, and I'm going to go over a few announcements and stuff this morning before we bring Dennis on and start talking about our topic today, which we'll probably go off the rails on, just so you all know, but it's about werewolves and vampires. Okay. Um, I got all kinds of questions, and I'm sure you do too. So I know a little bit about the subject, and my co host knows a lot about the subject. So we're going to go over it together. Okay. And between myself and Dennis, we have 100 years worth of paranormal experience. So, that being said, let me go through all the warnings and announcements and stuff. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, and exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, and video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called the fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, which I do, news reporting, which I do, teaching, which I do, and parody, which I definitely do, which doesn't infringe upon the copyright under Section 17 USC subsection 107. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel, aka William Nighthawk, and all the podcasts on the channel believes in good faith that it constitutes fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for educational purposes and general knowledge only, per Title 17 USC subsection 107 Fair Use Act. Okay. All right. I'm not going to do my inside professional radioman voice today. I'm going to go right into the meat and potatoes of the announcements. Still looking for this poor child, a 4-year-old girl. Tears my heart up. Could be anybody's daughter, anybody's granddaughter. From the, if you have any information, please notify the Flathead Tribal Police Department at the phone number on the guide there on the flyer. She is 4 years old, female, American Indian, and Alaskan Native. Brown hair, brown eyes. 4 years old, man. If you know any information about her, jot down the number and stuff and take a good look at her face. And you may see her going through a Walmart or going through a truck stop or this, that, and the other thing. You just keep your eyes up. Okay, let's bring her home. All right. That being said, the ECBRO, East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization's 2023 Virginia Bigfoot Con. Okay, as you can see, we got the Turtle Man coming in, his lovely wife. We got Zach Bales. We got B. Mills. We got Mike Fairmont. We got Zach Starwick. We got Rick Reels, a very dear friend of mine, and Ed Brown. Look forward to hearing Ed Brown speak too. So, but this is an excellent time. Anybody that has ever been to it can testify to that. I know there's several people on the channel that have been to this because I see them there every June. Dave, Lester, and Melissa are two of them. This is going to be June 17th, 2023 at Wires Cave, Virginia. Now, Wires Cave is a little bit farther south on 81, Interstate 81, heading away from University of James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So if anybody knows what James Madison University is, then you're right around that area where Wires Cave is. Okay. So June 17th, 2023. It's going to be a great time. I plan on being there. My lovely wife Tracy will be there. We will be there with our goods, and I will be there to help out anybody that they want. If they have anything they want to report or anything they want to talk about, just come see us, okay? All right. And this is another good one here. This is Dave Spink's World of Weird Monster Con 2023. Now, this is impressive. Not only is it Dave Spinks and my dear sister Serenity Jenny, who are both of them are like family to me, but it's, Eric Altman, and several other great speakers. There's Bear and the Night Stalkers. They're going to be there. Dr. Ray Keller, he's going to be there. Stan Gordon, the man Stan the man Gordon. He is going to be there. And let me tell you, you want to know a plethora of weird and unknown and just mysterious, undisclosed information. This gentleman has it. Okay. Everything from UFOs to Bigfoot to you name it. Okay. He has it all. Okay. So that is going to be a good time. Again, that's the MonsterCon 2023. And that's at the Dave Spink's World of Weird. April 28th, 29th, and 30th. 304-619-4155. You can call him, or I guess there's that scan code there. You can scan that on your phone while I got the picture up and find out more information about the location and, what they're all about. So, all right. Let me see here. What do I want to do next? Let's see. Okay, I know I got another announcement here. Just hold on a second, folks. I got to pop it up here. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about this real quick, just real fast. This, I don't know if any of you actually, listen to the End of the Red Rabbit Hole podcast on Friday nights at 10 o'clock in the evening Eastern. But we do a lot of conspiracy theory, and we try to figure out how things are connected and where things are going and why they're going certain ways. This is no theory. This is consumer goods, okay? And as you can see, there is 3, 6, 9, 11 companies own all the consumer goods that you all buy. 11 of them. Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Unilever, PepsiCo, Kellogg's, Mars, General Mills. I mean, and the list goes on. Kraft Foods. I mean, it's ridiculously insane how 11 companies can monopolize on selling you their products. That tells me that they can basically get away with anything. Price hiking, and if you think about it, if you seriously think about it, I hate to say it this way, but slavery is not dead. Slavery is still here. And I'll tell you why. Because you all go to work. You work damn hard for what little money you're given. Okay? You come home. You pay your rent, your mortgage. You pay your utilities. And anything left over goes to these guys. What do you get out of it? A 401k when you're 70 years old? Heck, Social Security won't even be around after 2060 or something like that. I just, I'm a big supporter of buying local. Okay, buying local, shop at those mom and pop places. shop at those local places, those local coffee shops and all that. And I know some of you out there may work at Starbucks and all that, but you all know it's true. Starbucks gets an astronomical amount of business. Okay. Let's spread it out a little bit, you know? Let's spread it out a little bit. Okay. If you need any honey or anything, buy local honey. Don't go to a superstore and pay $9 for a 4-ounce bottle of honey. Work out a deal with a local honey person and get your honey at a better price and better quality probably, because it's not going to sit on a shelf for a year. I'm just a big supporter of local mom and pop businesses. And, our country was founded on small businesses. Okay. It was founded on it, you know. And even before that, my people, the Native American people, we supported each other by trading and bartering, you know. So, let's keep that system alive, Let's help out the small businesses. Okay. All right, that's my preaching for this morning. I know it's a Sunday morning. I got Dennis in the back in the green room. He's enjoying himself with the teddy bears and stuff back there. And hopefully he won't kick the cat on the way out. So we're gonna bring Dennis in. I'm gonna get this off the screen and we're gonna get this party started. Okay. Oh, you don't want to see me. Oh my God. What a thing to see first thing in the morning. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to put something a little more presentable up on the board while we bring Dennis on. There we go. That's a lot more presentable, especially since we've been talking about werewolves and vampires.
William, I don't have teddy bears. I have werewolf bears over here. Okay.
Werebears.
Werewolf. Werewolf. Okay. All right.
Yeah. No, werebears. Werebears.
Yeah, werebears. Teddy bear. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the teddy bear is actually named after Teddy Roosevelt, but that goes way, way, way back. They're so old. I had one when I was a little boy. But anyway, yeah, we're on one of my favorite subjects today: werewolves and vampires. Two of my all-time favorite monsters. Yeah. And since I had a run-in with a real vampire, I haven't had a run-in with a werewolf yet. I tell you why. Usually when you have a run-in with a werewolf, that's the last thing that ever happens to you. So you don't want to actually meet a werewolf, okay? Let's not go that route, definitely.
I do.
I put a little picture on my Facebook the other day that shows this beautiful young lady lying on the ground in a pool of blood. And in one hand, she's got a stake, and there's a book laying there, and there's a werewolf over on top of her just tearing her to pieces. And the book says How to Kill Vampires. And the name of the picture is The Fatal Mistake. Let's not make any mistakes with these things. When you go out looking for vampires, you need to know what werewolves look like, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But here's the interesting thing, and I tell people this, William, and I've had lectures on this. I talk about this in my lectures. People look at me like I have really gone bonkers when I tell them that there are such things as werewolves and vampires. They look at me like, boy, have you gone around the bend, But this is true. It's very true in many aspects. And there is a direct demonic connection to both of these creatures. We talked about yesterday about the zombies, the actual real zombies and then the fake zombies. When we weren't talking about the ones from Hollywood, by the way. But and there's like you say, a lot of them in Washington. A lot of them run those companies on that chart you just showed us too, by the way. And by the way, let me say this about that chart right quick. People would be surprised to find out just how many of those companies have foreign investors like the CCP on their boards and everything. And the Communist Chinese Party is in everything. It is one of the most insidious forces in this world today. People better wake up. And the first priority you should have, if you are a real patriot, is buy American, okay? And speaking of that, I have my weirdo warrior mug on today. Got it right here.
Look at that.
And
Look at that.
And you too can have a weirdo warrior mug. You just follow William's link, and you can have one of these beauties on your desk, okay, with coffee in it, of course. But anyway, there's my plug for right now. Okay, anyway, getting back to what I was saying. The Communist Chinese Party aside, the werewolf and the vampire. Which is your favorite, by the way, William? Just curious to know.
Definitely the werewolf.
I agree with you. He's more shall we say, bestial. The vampire is more like a parasite to me. The werewolf would be a force to be reckoned with, definitely, like a natural force, a tornado or a storm. But the vampire is sort of sneaking around in the shadows, and he's living off of people's blood. To me, that's just not that good. I mean, that's a parasite. Now, let's look at it like a leech or a tick or something like that, you know? Here's the interesting thing about the vampire, and we talked about this yesterday with the zombies. I won't get off track with that. But the zombie is supposedly, in some instances, is a demonically reanimated dead person. Okay, that's a term I use a lot. That's a terminology of the demonic reanimated. In other words, they're dead, but they're reanimated by demonic forces. And so is the vampire. You know, you got to look at it like that. The vampire, if you were, okay, let's say Tracy goes in the bedroom tomorrow and you're laying there and you've turned into a vampire, William. You're no longer really William Nighthawk in there anymore, okay? And Tracy needs to understand she's going to have to stake you down, okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Patriots wish we could buy everything you need from us. True. Okay, right, Joey. Definitely buy American. Anyway, she's going to have to put you down because you're not William anymore. A demon has inhabited your body. You are no longer in your body. You're no longer there. You're no longer at home. A demonic force is taking you over. That is a vampire. In a lot of the Hollywood movies, you see that when they kill the vampire, there's a peaceable look on their face when they're lying there. They're no longer this horrible monster-looking thing. They are more like a human again because their soul has been saved, so to speak. Their body has been taken away from this force. The werewolf, on the other hand, also has a demonic connection because to become a werewolf, you have to do a working. You know, remember I told you what a working is. A working is just another name for a spell or a incantation that has something to do with sorcery. So the werewolf becomes the werewolf unless it's a person under the curse of the werewolf. That's a different thing. The werewolf becomes that because he imbues himself with demonic power and that demonic connection there. There are known demonic spirits, and you can look them up in your books of demonology, that are called wolf spirits. You know. And then you have the vampire spirits, the ones that feed off of people's energy, their life essence, not just their blood. They're I call them soul leeches. That's what they basically are. They feed off of your energy, or some people call them psychic vampires, if you want to give them that name. If you've ever met anyone like that, they just seem to drain you.
Yeah.
Those people probably have that spirit about them, you know. Now, Ed and Lorraine Warren, I told you remember, had a very interesting wolf spirit case of a man in England who thought that every night of the full moon he would turn into a werewolf. Now, this is a mind condition called lycanthropy. This is actually a medical condition, by the way, where people actually believe that they are wolves or turn into werewolves. But if you're in China, you might be a were-tiger, okay? But anyway, whatever your location is. This is an
dragon.
actual medical condition. And let me tell you this, that back in the medieval times, if you came up with a disease, let's say lupus, okay, you know what the disease lupus is. It can do certain things to you. It can elongitate your teeth. It can give you a cast, a pallor about you. It can even cause facial hair to grow where it normally wouldn't. You look at somebody like that, and if you're superstitious, you say, "Hey, that person's a werewolf." There's something, wolfish about this person, and they would cast them out of the village. Get out of here. They'd have to live in the wild if they survived, and if they did that, William, they became feral. They became wild animals to a certain extent because that was the way they had to survive, and therefore, I think is some of the roots of just some of the roots of the legend of the werewolf is attributed to this disease and like diseases and superstition, of course. They went along with
Right.
it. But now, here was one of the signs of a werewolf is that this finger was as long as the index finger. They both ran instead of being the other one. So you can see I'm not a werewolf, by the way. That was one sign that you were a werewolf. Yeah, the index finger was just the same length as the middle finger.
Yeah, I'm not going to show you mine.
I'm not giving you the finger on that, William. But anyway, uh, the whole thing is there were certain signs. You had the unibrow, and like I said, the teeth would be long. You would have hair in the palm of the hand. And somewhere on you there would be the devil's mark, which is always said to look sort of like a pentagram, a star. And of course, that's where they get that in the movie. The victims always have that in their hand that you're going after next. Sort of
That's
a
why they have
preordained
hairy
death.
palms.
If you don't have it in your hand, you're okay.
Well, how could you have hairy palms and have that mark in your palm of your hand?
So hairy palms is just part of a wolfish look about you, that you would get, and that may also, I'm not sure, maybe an occurring thing with lupus, the disease lupus too. Like I said, you have hair in certain areas of the body that normally don't have hair. And then you have some freaks of nature. Remember the Wolf Boys in the circus? They had, I can't think of, he's checking for hair here, people. Okay. Anyway, the Wolf Boys that, used to be in the freak shows, they actually, I can't remember the name of the condition that they had, but they would have long hair, and that was actually hereditary disease that they had, where hair would grow profusely on these people. They made them look like wolf people, definitely. You have things like that. It can be naturally attributed to the werewolf. But then you go into the black magic aspect of it, the sorcery, the wolf belt that you wore, the skin that you put on, the rituals that you went through. Then you would cut yourself and take blood, and all these blood rituals and all this is very much part of sorcery. We got to remember, well, like the Native American skinwalkers, the shape shifting ability is a big thing in sorcery. Okay, it goes way back, and that is the werewolf. He's a shapeshifter. That's what he is basically. Because, like I said, the big difference between him and the dog man is the dog man is the dog man 24/7. He doesn't change. The werewolf could be your next door neighbor, and you'd never know it unless it was a night of a full moon or something. You might find out the wrong way. But that's the interesting thing about the werewolf.
Let's communicate a bit of information inside. Well, I don't want to say inside information because I'm not showing you the palm of my hand either. But anyways, let's discuss a few of the not truths about werewolves. Not true. Werewolves do not walk on two legs all the time. Okay, they can stand up on their hind legs, but they don't walk upon their hind legs all the time. They walk on all fours. Okay, That's the main difference between them and a dog man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
also, werewolves don't need a full moon to change.
No, not
A
really.
a yeah, a a
Actually,
well,
William, actually, werewolves can change in daytime too. It could be
yes,
any time that they want to change. There's no time
right.
constraint.
Yeah, it's more of a change that constitutes how you manipulate and manifest it. Okay. And we all know I talk about manifestation all the time, and I always try to teach everybody on how to do the self manifesting and all that, to improve your life, with finances or whatever. But it is the way you manifest. Okay. It is your ability to manifest on whether you can change consistently all the time. Okay. So those are the two main um, non-truths about the whole werewolf thing.
Yeah. And here's another thing, William. Here's another thing. We got to differentiate between a true werewolf and a wolf man. A wolf man has the attributes of a man.
Mhm,
He's sort of a quasi compared completion of the wolf and the man together. The
mhm,
werewolf is usually depicted as, like you said, running on all fours. It looks like a big, monstrous, mean-looking wolf,
mhm,
like the Beast of Gavaden that I think Jessica on her show, The Cryptid Hunters, talked about the other day. One of my fascinating cases. Another one that Ken Gerhardt investigated, and they came to the conclusion it was a pet hyena, somebody's hyena that they had. That's an interesting thing. I would love to delve into that some more. But anyway, the whole thing is you've got different types of werewolves, and then you have the third kind of werewolf, which is a person under the curse, a hereditary curse of lycanthropy, of werewolfism, as they call it. He can't control. He doesn't really want to be that way. Like the original
mhm.
Wolfman in the movies, he didn't want to be like that. He had that curse on him. So there's a different kind of werewolves you're dealing with here. But when it comes to Dogman, he has also been said to run on all fours sometimes, but most of the time he's usually seen standing on two legs most of the time, which is why he's called a dog man. He doesn't look like a man, but he's called a dog man because he stands like a man or walks like a man. But like I said, if you ever run into any of them, you're not going to take time to find out, hey, are you a werewolf or you a dog man? I wouldn't advise you doing that. It might be best to just kind of get out of Dodge real quick. Um, but the interesting thing about the werewolf is that some people choose to be a werewolf. That's what they want to do. They want to get either that to they're tripping on the power of such a beast, of such an animal, a supernatural presence. So they're all. And here's the interesting thing, William, about the werewolf, the true werewolf, not the wolf man, not the cursed guy. The true werewolf is not completely supernatural. Okay, he's not a spiritual being. He does have supernatural attributes. He is that way because of supernatural powers, but you can still kill the werewolf. He is still physical. You can do him in. Um, so therefore, he's a strange combination of real physical and supernatural uh, being. That's interesting about him. I've always found that to be an interesting part of the werewolf.
Yep, yep, very true. So, as we delve further into the proverbial myth legends and folklore, um, are the werewolf and vampire linked some way? Are
Mm-hmm.
they connected some way? Um,
Yes, they are.
through
Yes, they are. It,
can,
there are
can you
certain beings
explain?
called the werevamps or vampires. They're usually called werevamps. They're part werewolf and part vampire. They have both the curses, you might say, on them. They can be both. They can be werewolf and vampire. And of course, the vampire has the ability, supposedly, to shapeshift as well. It can turn into wolves. It can turn into bats, rats, a mist, a fog. It is the vampire is very, in some ways, more supernatural than the werewolf is. In many attributes, because you got to remember this: the vampire is almost a completely demonic entity. Okay, so it can do things far more different than the werewolf. But in rare instances, there have been people that were declared vampires and werewolves, werevamps. Um, that would be a bad combination to run into. Um, but the actual vampire is supposed to be able to turn into. Now we're talking about a wolf on four legs here, not a werewolf. Okay, when they turn into a wolf, it's a wolf. It looks like a wolf.
Right.
It's not that monstrous looking either, like a werewolf would be. A werewolf would look like some kind of horrible looking dire wolf that you would run in, but the vampire is just look like another wolf kind of a thing. That's what it changes into. Of course, it changes into the bat and the fog, the rats. It can change into rats. It can take on many different attributes. Look at those vampire bats feeding away there. And by the way, here's the interesting thing about the vampire bat. I've studied a lot on them. You know, you can get a vampire bat on you. They get on you while you're asleep. They will not usually mess with you in the daylight, the daytime, because they're nocturnal things. They come out at night. But their thing is to get something that's sleeping, and they will crawl up on like a cow or you if you happen to be sleeping without a bat net around you. They will crawl up on you. You won't feel it. I mean, they're so light. They're not heavy. They'll crawl up on you and begin to feed on you. And here's the interesting thing: when it bites you, you won't even feel that probably, because their teeth are so sharp and so good. They're very expert at this stuff. And they also exhibit a saliva, which makes your blood flow more, makes it flow better, and they feed off of you. And the bad thing about vampire bats, although of course they can have rabies too. And by the way, in China and certain places in the Orient, people still eat bats, by the way, which I wouldn't advise. But they do eat bats. And they say that, of course, that's where a certain disease we know of supposedly came from. Anyway, the interesting thing about the vampire bat is that it is a parasite, more just like a leech and all that. And the people down there, especially with their cattle and they don't bother sheep so much unless the sheep has been sheared recently, because their wool is so thick they can't get a good hold on them. They can't get a good bite on them. They love cow. They love the cattle because they can get to them really easy. And I remember seeing a picture where this guy went out on his farmland, and there must have been 100 bats on this cow. I mean, they were all over. And, something like that, William, could drain an animal very quickly. That many, taking that much blood would kill your cow. So you don't want that to happen. That's your livelihood, your cow. You get milk from it, not everything. So you have to really guard your cattle against these things. They're really a pest down there. They're just like termites or something else. People have a lot of problem with, and of course they'll bite you too if you get into a situation where you let them. So it's like leeches. I don't know if you've been in the military, if you ever ran into that problem, but I've talked to a lot of soldiers in Vietnam, and said they would wade through creeks and come out, and they'd take them 30 or 40 minutes to peel all the leeches off of them. They'd be all over their legs and everything. They'd take their knives and get them off. Leeches are bad things, but by the way, leeches are very good for medical purposes. When I worked at the hospital, we used to have an aquarium of sterile leeches that they would use for people who got a hand cut off or fingers cut off. That would help these things reattach with the blood flow and everything they went to them. So they're very medicinal for certain purposes. But on the other hand, you wouldn't want leeches around your yard or your house, definitely. So they're a pest just like the vampire bat. And who would really want a bat hanging around in your house if you can help it? You would definitely want that, because not only are they disease ridden, they smell bad when they defecate. My gosh, you've ever smelled bat guano? You know it's bad. But the interesting thing about the bat, not everyone will forget this one time, William, and I don't know, I might have told you about this one time, and it was a scary thing, really, to see. I was on the way to work one morning when I used to work at the hospital. I had to get up. I would have to be at work before dawn, you know. And one day,
Right.
and I never had thought about this, you know. And one morning I pulled up to a stop sign in town, and it was just getting light, you know, the light before dawn, but it was very faint, you know. And I looked out over the horizon, and I could see swarms. They looked like millions of bats, and they were swarming in the sky. And I've seen this up around city lights as well when I was a cop up down in the city. It's scary looking. It looks like a scene out of the birds or something. You remember the birds, you know, when they take over the world? Um, that many bats could take over the world if they really wanted to. But what's so important about that is they're eating bugs up there. They're eating mosquitoes. They eat their weight in mosquitoes every night. We would be knee deep in bugs if we didn't have bats. So bats are very beneficial in nature, in the chain of nature. Um, so that's why we should be, you know, trying to take care of them in certain ways, but stay out of the bat guano. Yeah, bad stuff.
Yeah, bats are definitely beneficial, except these kind. I don't like these kind can go away. You know, if any bat carries a disease like rabies or anything, it would be a vampire bat because it's constantly feeding
Oh yeah.
other animals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one main fear I have with the vampire bat. Other than that, I'm perfectly fine with them. They can try to suck my blood all they want if they want radiated blood. So
They better not bite me, William. They probably kill them right off.
let's talk a little bit about the old hunter's kit. I'll show you here in a second.
Oh yeah, I have one
Let's
around here
talk
somewhere.
a little bit. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the gear that's in the hunter's kit. I see that there are, you know, there's the Mother Mary and Jesus. I see that there's like the crosses, the Holy Bible. There's the salts and the holy water, the stakes and the hammer and the gun with the silver bullets. Who in the, and I was always under the belief, Dennis, that the Vatican was the reason that this thing came about. The way it's organized and all that, with all the things that you would need to battle vampires and werewolves.
Well, that's very true, especially with the vampires. Especially with the vampires, as I say, like again, you're talking demonic thing here, and you know that the Exorcist eventually ran into this. Now take a look at that kit. Just a minute, I want to say something about that gun. The gun is there for two purposes. One, you're right, and they have a silver bullet, which would also dispatch a werewolf for you too, by the way, or a werewolf if you happen to run into one that's both. But also, the gun was for humans. You know, the vampire supposedly had a human helper, a lost soul that would guard them during the day while they slept. He was a servant of the vampire, so you might have to dispatch him too. So that's what the gun was also for. So it had regular bullets with it. And then if you look at the vials up there, of course, in the middle is a very all-important holy water vial. But then you have two different vials on each side of it. Now, the one of them you see is definitely salt. And then there will be a vial of garlic. See that garlic right next to the salt there? It's yellow looking, you know. And then further over, I'm gonna go all the way over to the other side over there. That right there would probably be holy oil for anointing purposes. And then that next vial right next to the, as you see, it's kind of black and yellow. That would basically be the mixture of salt and burn. In other words, it would be rock salt, gunpowder mixed together so that you could salt and burn something, which will be like cleansing a coffin or grave. Or it can also
Okay.
be used against supernatural entities as well. So that's what all those vials up there contain. Now, you might see that little box down in the bottom there next to the steak. That little box has got wafers, holy wafers in it from the Eucharist. That's another Catholic thing.
You mean like
And by the
communion
way,
wafers?
yeah, the wafers, yeah.
Okay.
And then yeah, they're blessed wafers, by the way. They used to, if you might remember, in Dracula, Van Helsing fixed one of Dracula's coffins by leaving a wafer down in it. So he couldn't go back to that coffin. Of course, you got the Bible up there, which is also probably the Book of the Dead as well. It's where they have the prayers for the dead and all that in it. The two top icons of Jesus, both of those is Jesus of the Sacred Heart over on the left, and then the crucified Jesus are icons that would be used against demonic forces, definitely. So you've got some interesting items there that you can look at. And by the way, I think I also see down at the bottom a thing with gunpowder in it for the gun itself. So you got several implements in the bottom down there for the gun. And you also
Yep.
have a blessed knife. You not see that knife, the handle of that knife sticking there? There's a blessed
Yep.
knife that is also good for killing, dispatching vampires with as well.
Yep. Yep. That's pretty interesting kit. All the
A silver. That knife has to be
saw
silver.
that, yeah. I saw that kit, and I kind of like and liken it to a what we call a medicine bundle, where it carries our sacred objects and stuff for Native American people. It'll carry a knife. It'll carry a pipe. It'll carry tobacco, salts, purification agents. It'll carry, it'll carry elixir medicines and stuff for herbs and stuff to make broth. It'll carry, even in more modern times, it carried the black powder. So it has a lot of consistencies with the Native American end of it too. It would carry the medicine wheel, which is a symbol of the cross. You got north, south, east, west.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of
was there not also some containers of colored sand that they would use in the symbols and all that?
That's more of a Southwest. Yeah, that's more of a Southwest thing. So they could do the sand tile art to remove demons or whatnot from people, right, or to heal certain people from ailments. But that's more of a Southwest type of a thing. But we all we carried a lot of different things in our medicine bundles and stuff. So it was kind of fascinating when I saw that and I loaded it last night. I looked at it real good close, and there's a lot of similarities. I mean, you almost have to think that we knew about the vampires and werewolves of old just as much as the Romanians and
Oh yeah, well, like I said, the Native Americans know what demons are. They may have a different name for them. Okay. But they know they've encountered demons, and that's what you're basically looking at here is demonic power. Matter of fact, I have a show on tonight that I'm going to be talking about the demonic plan. This will be on at 9 o'clock tonight. Just look it up on YouTube. It's called Demonology Today. I'm going to be talking a little bit more in depth of that. But when you get into demonology, you get into the demon factor, the power that these people call this up here. that's worldwide, William. It goes into every culture. And that's another one of those things, on our paranormal list, we always talk about this everywhere in the world. And the demons definitely are, whatever name you want to call them, the jinn or the fire demons or whatever name you want to give them. And I know the Native
Right.
Americans encountered these as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Karen's got an interesting question here about the lure of the canine teeth being removed from children as the adult ones are growing in.
That might have been a very archaic superstition many, many, many years ago, back in maybe in medieval times. But I don't think it was ever very prevalent. Although the canine teeth, everyone has them. It doesn't just mean, that you're going to turn into anything because you have canine teeth. That's just the makeup of human beings. Actually, the canine teeth are for grasping whatever it is you're trying to eat, whereas in the back molars are for chewing. The front teeth are for tearing and holding and ripping, and that's where the canine teeth come in.
Yeah.
And we share that with a lot of animals in the world, of course, like the wolf and the lions and bears and all that.
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
And I think we're in odds, William. We may be in odds here. But the interesting little run-in I had with the vampire I talked about, before. The interesting thing was that bat showing up at the end. Why are bats connected to the vampire? Well, a lot of the Europeans and even some Native Americans in North America didn't know about vampire bats. Okay, that's an interesting thing. Where did the European connection with bats come in? Well, the bat. Here's the interesting thing about it: the bat actually symbolizes death. Okay, because it's in a dark cave, it stays in darkness, doesn't come out in the daytime unless there's something wrong with it. If you ever see a bat in the daytime, it's probably got rabies. Get away from it. It's not going to come out in the day unless something's wrong with it.
But see, in my culture, in my culture, though, Dennis, the bat, and I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize for that, but in my culture, the bat represents death and rebirth.
Oh yeah,
because
there you go. That's the vampire. That's the vampire. That's what I'm getting at. It means like coming back again. It's a revenant kind of a thing.
Right.
That's what that word revenant means. It's French for returning, to return, to come back. That's a perfect symbol for vampire. Think about it. And I think the Europeans realized that. See, here's the interesting thing I was going to say about the European outlook on this is that the bat represents death, is in the cave, and he comes out at night. He comes out, he comes alive every night. Okay, he's dead all day, and he comes alive every night. There you go. There's your vampire. See, that's the way they look. Very much like the Native Americans, the death and rebirth thing. That's very good. That's very true.
All right.
It's amazing. It amazes me to this day, William, how much the European and Native Americans have in common in certain beliefs. It still amazes me that they can be that way, But
yeah, and it's almost because you gotta understand too, though, that the people were coming to our land long before Columbus arrived. We had the Chinese people, trading with us on the West Coast.
Could be Egyptian, they say. Maybe the Egyptians might have showed up. We know the Vikings did.
Yeah, and we traded with all of them except the Vikings. The Vikings just wanted to destroy and conquer. So,
and here's another thing, William. Here's another thing. No matter where you go in the world, people are all alike. I don't care what culture you're in. We all share a lot of the same things and the same outlooks on things and the same way we go about understanding things. We're all connected, okay, in that aspect. No matter how different the cultures are, how much time and space may be between them, there's still those relative similarities that make us all human.
exactly. Yeah, and it's fascinating to see the connections and stuff. Again, here we are connecting the dots, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the metaphor of the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road, and it's going to lead you where you need to go. So, um,
Yeah. It always
it's
reminds
really, really
me. You
something.
probably remember seeing those little drawings when you were a kid that you could connect the dots and the drawing would come out. Remember those? That's what we're kind of
Yeah,
doing. We're connecting those dots and we're getting the picture of what we want to see
yeah,
here. That's where the patterns come
yeah,
in. Um,
yeah,
but these things are
exactly.
prevalent all over the world. And here's the thing about this interesting thing about this demonic power that people hook up to, whether it be sorcery or whatever it is, which way they're doing, whatever the influence of it is, it always demands a sacrifice. No matter what you do, it will be either you pay a price for it, a dark price, or it will demand more than
Right.
you are willing to pay. That's just the way the demonic works. And here's the interesting thing about these people that use demonic powers to change into werewolves or people who became vampires. And you can become a vampire in different ways, by the way. You can commit suicide. You could do different. There were different superstitions attached to it that you could actually come back as a vampire or revenant. And
Yeah.
usually, here's the interesting thing, William, when the people that returned as vampires always usually attack their own family
Huh.
most of the time. They would eventually work their way out, around, but they would immediately look at the Vortalak. The Vortalak, which is a Serbian version of the vampire, usually he first destroys his family before he goes out in the neighborhood. That was a bad thing to have a vampire in your family. You were pretty well doomed because
Now,
they come after you first. Yeah.
let me ask you something, Dennis. Okay, and I'm asking this because I'm curious about how you feel about it. Because I know how we've talked about it before. So I know how we perceive it, but I want to specifically ask you this and people in the chat. You know, um, as far as the vampire cults go, how do you feel about them? Do you feel that they're more of a demonic type of a cult, or do you feel like they're just misled, or do you feel like they believe they're real vampires? Just I'm just curious about how you feel about the vampire cults. And then my
I
second
think.
part, my
Oh,
second
okay.
part,
Go ahead.
well, my second part to the question I'll give you afterwards. Okay.
Okay, right quick, I'll say I believe this is a demonically influenced cult. I think it has demonic basis to it, definitely. There are some misguided people in it. And you have a lot of new age people that have grasped this thing. But it is, I think, basically a demonically influenced cult. Anything that tells you to go out and drink other people's blood to worship this kind of a lifestyle is very dark and evil kind of a thing. There's nothing good about it. I don't see any really good thing about it. Of course, people are going to do what they want to do, but I think the basic influence of this thing would definitely be demonic.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure if anybody out there has heard this or not, but doing my research late last night, back in the 1980s, there was an incident in, um, I believe it was Baltimore, Maryland. Um, I believe that was the city it was in. One of the local hospitals brought in a shooting victim, and this shooting victim was basically so close to death that they didn't think he was going to live. He was a 19-year-old young man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Again, blonde hair, blue eyes, that kind of features, white male, 19 years old. He was described as being not overly tall, but not overly short, which makes him average height. Um, Apparently, in his recovery room, there was an older couple that came in and visited him. They were talking in Romanian to him. Um, and apparently, the nurse that overheard the conversation, kind of picked up that it was a foreign dialect and kind of figured it was either German or Romanian or something along that lines. The Germanic type of a language. But she came in the room, and visiting hours were over, and that's when she was doing her room checks, and the nurse asked them to leave and asked them what they were doing there, and the young man goes, "Oh, they are my family." And she looked at the people, and they looked nothing like the young man. The older man that was with the older woman. The older woman was probably in her 70s, 75 to 80. She was short and, heavy set, with white hair.
Dark features, maybe.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And, wearing all black. And the gentleman that was standing with her didn't say a word. Okay. The woman did all the talking to the young man. And he was tall. The nurse said that he was well over 6 foot tall, and he was wearing all black. Um, and he had sunglasses on, which she thought was odd because it was nighttime. Um, and the only thing I could think of was because of the lighting in the hospital being so bright. Um, but anyways, they were asked to leave, and they left. They didn't make a problem. And the nurse came back before her shift ended, like 6 hours later, to check on the young man, and she didn't find him in his bed. She found all the stuff leading into the bathroom, and apparently, she knocked on the bathroom door to see if he was okay, and she didn't get any response. Well, here she opens up the door, it wasn't locked, and she peeks in, and she sees the young man drinking blood from bags of donated blood from the blood bank at the hospital. And there was like probably 5 or 6 bags in there, and there was blood dripped all over the toilet and the shower and all that. And he looked up and noticed her, and he tried to attack her. Well, when security came, when she started screaming and stuff and fighting him off, apparently he tried to bite her. Okay. Now, the thing of it is, security came running down, and they subdued him to a point. He broke free, and security drew their weapons out to shoot him. He jumped through the second-story window and got away. This is a documented case of somebody
Now,
that
I've heard about it. Let me tell you an interesting connection to that, William. This is actually seen in Kolchak, the original Kolchak movie, The Vampire. The Kolchak, The Night Stalker. They got it from that case. That's where the writer actually heard about this, your research on this. It is a real true case of what you're talking about that happened. You see that in the movie, some of it, not the whole thing, but some of it's related to that movie. But let me tell you a quick story, and that doesn't surprise me. That sounds like the 2 people that were there were actually the servants of this vampire. See, there are certain, vampires supposedly have in place a service wing, you might say, with these people that actually are the servants of vampires. They're there to take care of them, just like the old hierarchy used to be. You had a baron, and he had servants, and they did for the baron what they needed to do. That was their chief. Anyway, that's what that sounds like to me. That's what those 2 people probably were. They were like the servants of this vampire. But I have a very interesting story for you, and it's one that I heard that this actually happened. Well, this guy, he had a service. He worked for a service where you could call and rent a limo. You could rent a limousine. Now, we're not talking about one of these big, long stretch limousines. We're talking about a regular size limousine, And one night he got a call to meet a client at an airport. It wasn't a great, big, huge airport. It was one of the smaller kind of county airports, And this Learjet lands, and said when the Learjet lands and taxis into where it goes, the door opens, and this real nice-looking lady gets out of a Learjet. And he talks. She had long black hair. She was beautiful. She was a good-looking. She had on a pair of dark sunglasses. And this is night now, middle of the night. This is about like 1 o'clock in the morning, which he thought was very strange to get a call for a pickup for a limousine at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is, by the way, strange. Anyway, make a long story short, this lady gets in the back of the limousine, and she says, "Look, I've got just a limited amount of time, so we're going to have to be quick, okay?" She said, "I've got 3 places I need to go," and she gave him paper with the addresses on them. And she said, "We'll take them 1, 2, 3, and then you bring me back to the plane, but we've got to do all of this before sunrise. So we got a limited amount. We got 3 hours to do this, and then that's it." And the guy said, "Oh, I can do it. I know this city like the back of my hand. I'll do it for you now." So he takes the woman to these addresses, and she never removes the black sunglasses. She never takes them off. She's got black gloves on. She's a beautiful woman. She looks like a jet setter, a movie star or something. And she said she had very pale skin, and he said about her there was a strange feeling about her. That's all he could tell you about on that. And he said that he took her to these addresses, and every time she'd get back in the car, she'd have a handkerchief, and she'd be doing this. And he didn't pay a whole lot of attention. She thought maybe it was, she might have just been messing with her makeup or something, or whatever. And said, and then the last trip, and every trip would take she'd be there about 15 minutes. She'd come back out to the car. The last trip, she was back there doing this, and she takes the sunglasses off. And he's driving down the road, and they're almost at the airport, where she's going back. And he looks in the rear, like you would look in the rearview mirror, and he sees her in the back, and there's 2 like red eyes. Her eyes are red. And this startles him. I mean, it would anybody. Think about it. And he said, so he pulls into and she gets out, and she leaves the sunglasses on the back seat. And she gets out, and she says, "You've been very helpful." And she gives him, it's dark out there, and you can't see her eyes right now. They're not glowing red, But she gives him $100 bill. She says, "Here's your tip," And she gets on the plane taxis and takes off. And he said the next thing he remembered, he woke up in bed. Couldn't remember going back home. He couldn't do that. He woke up in bed. And he got up real quick and he said, "Oh my God, what happened? Where's the limo?" And he sees the limos parked outside of his apartment. And he goes back out to the limo, and he wondered what's going on. And there's those sunglasses still laying on the back. He knows it all wasn't a dream. It wasn't some hallucination about those red eyes in the back seat. Was she a vampire? Did she have certain vampires you had to go meet? Was she actually hired to turn certain people into vampires? He had a lot of questions with no answers, but he said, "I still keep her sunglasses, because maybe one day she'll come back for them."
Interesting. That reminds me of what I heard. A tale about how the men in the French Quarter of New Orleans, back in the day, it was kind of hard, to for like every guy, there was like, no women really. I mean, down there, because it was such a rough area. So apparently, a lot of the men had hopes of getting brides overseas, and one day this coach pulled into the town, and these 3 young ladies got off the coach, and they had these large trunks, like coffin length trunks, basically, that they were dragging behind them to the monastery that was there in the center in New Orleans, that was used for, supposedly used for introduction to nuns and stuff, and sisterhood and all that. But the top part of the building was hardly ever used, and they apparently they stored these totes in the top part of the building, and several of them, you never really saw the young ladies during the day. You always saw them at nighttime along the either by the windows or standing in a doorway or standing on the porch, that kind of a thing. You always saw them around the building. Okay, they never left the building, but and it was always at nighttime you saw them, which makes me think that maybe they brought their masters with them that were vampires to New Orleans, and they were the servant, indentured servants to their masters.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's been reported sightings of a vampire, jumping off the tops of buildings and stuff and trying to seduce people, in the
Well, there were
the
two in New Orleans. There were two brothers. You remember that? The two. I think their name was Carter. It was John Carter and Wayne Carter. And these two brothers lived in. You can see the house today. It's in the French Quarter. And somebody got away out of this house and went to the police and told them that I was being held captive by these brothers. These were well-known brothers. They only came out at night, and they would frequent a lot of the gambling places and stuff, and a lot of the houses of prostitution and stuff like that, I guess. Whatever went on in the French Quarter at night. Anyway, these two brothers were accused of being kidnappers and all that by the lady that got away from them. And they went and broke in the house, and it was during the daytime, and they didn't see the two brothers. They couldn't find the two brothers, but there was like four people in this house, and they were like two of them were deceased, and two of them were still alive, chained to the walls. And what they were doing was using these people for human blood banks. And so they supposedly captured these two brothers later, and it was at night because they couldn't find them in daytime, and actually hung them. And here's the last spin of the story: that when a historian went to look all this up, and he went to where their tombs were, there were no bodies in those tombs. You don't kill a vampire, hang it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many curious stories and stuff that you hear and reported incidences that you can't really. I mean, you have to put it up there with the possibility of it actually existing. That they exist, and a lot of people will deem us crazy for talking about vampires and werewolves, but I know from my own society, being Native American, that we have the ability to manifest a change in us and to
Exactly.
to portray ourselves as something that we're not. Obviously we're not the only ones. It almost gets to the point where it's like the incident on the way home the one time with my lovely wife Tracy. We were driving home from the grocery store, and it was evening. It was probably about 6 o'clock in the evening, just before the sun went down, and still light out enough to see and stuff. But we're driving down the road on the way home, and about a mile and a half or so from our home on the main road, we saw this deer on the way into the town, laying on the side of the road, and we didn't think anything of it. So on the way back, I looked a little closer. I slowed down and I looked a little closer, and here was this. I don't even know how to describe it. It was. I still have the mental picture in my mind of the legs and the feet of this thing. And, if anything was a werewolf, it would have been this thing. And I say that because it almost looked like it was transitioning from a full-blown wolf to a human. It was laying dead next to the carcass of this deer. And the way it was laying was like the deer was here, okay? Here's the head of the deer, and here's the ass end of the deer, and then here's the road. Okay, this is the road over here. Okay.
Yeah.
It was laying side by side with its front leg over the deer, its head over the back neck of the deer. Okay. And its body was laying down this way, okay, towards the road, which, and it was raised up on the deer, like it jumped on the deer's back, basically. Okay.
Do you think, let me ask you this question. Do you think it was feeding right then, or you think it had just made a kill?
Well, judging by the blood on the road, I actually feel, and I went back, and this is where, here, let me pull, let me show you. This picture came from. Hopefully, I didn't take it down. I hope I didn't take it down. I think I did. Dang it. Anyways, I have a picture of a unmarked van, dark colored van with government plates on it, that left the scene the following morning. In the road, in the lane of the traffic lane that we were driving in. See, the way the road is there, the deer and everything's laying here. Here's the road, okay? And the way the road is, it's a 2-lane road because this inside lane is a turning lane, okay? So, and it's an intersection to a side road that goes back along, a river's edge and all that, And anyways, make a long story short, there was all kinds of blood splatter in the center of the 2 lanes, okay? Like it got hit by something as it was driving, trying to jump on the back of this deer. And I think the only reason I didn't see it coming from the other direction is because the land kind of rises and then goes down. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't see it when I came through the first time, but coming back on the direction, the land was more level. Right. And I had the perfect view of this thing. And let me tell you, it was the closest thing I could say that would have been a werewolf, because it looked literally like it was transitioning from a wolf to a human. The legs, the back legs on this thing, the back feet, I want to say paws, but I can't say paws. The back feet on this thing were enormous. I mean, it was like you put both of my hands together, and the toes on this thing, and I say toes because they were toes about that long, about as long as my thumb. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were. I couldn't. I could see that they were dark nails. But I couldn't see that if they were claws that closely. But I would imagine they were. But the thing of it is the foot. I want to say paw, but I don't know. I can't really say paw, okay? Because it looked like a foot and a paw combined.
Well, it might have been between both. It might have been between both a paw and a foot, kind of a thing, since it was transitioning. It might not have been completely, whichever way it was going, whether it was forming into a wolf or whether it was forming into a man, whichever way the transition was going, you would definitely have an elongated foot like. kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
makes sense. It makes sense when you think about
I just, I keep on wanting to say paw, but I have to say foot because of the length of it. And the way it was designed. Okay. Everybody talks about how the dog man has the leg that's kind of
the
like the dog, where
back
it has
legs.
the, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the bend to it and all that, like a dog, and then it goes up, into the hip
Bent legs.
joint.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it had this, okay, it had that kind of a style, but the foot itself, where the foot laid, okay, it bent up, okay, for a part about probably about 6-7 inches, and
Mm-hmm.
then the leg came forward, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and formed like a knee joint and came backwards to the hip.
Yeah, like the hunches. The hunches on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
That's
was
it.
really, really, yeah, it was really, really. I mean, and I have that etched in my brain, seeing this thing, and it really, really caught us off guard, because we were just like, what the,
Oh, it got it.
what the
Yeah.
hell did we just see? And then
Yeah.
coming back through, there was this unmarked van, and I've got pictures on my phone of the unmarked van. Let me see if I can pull them up. But the unmarked van was a government van.
You think that was a cleanup crew? Think
Definitely,
it could
because
have
the
been some
blood.
kind of government
Oh, yeah,
related
yeah, yeah,
incident, and they had a cleanup crew come in and take the carcass and all that off, or
yeah, definitely, because the carcass and everything was gone, including the deer, and all the blood was cleaned up. It was
mm-hmm.
like somebody brushed clean with bleach.
It was an
Okay.
erasure.
And I'm
They were erasing what happened because probably it had some kind of government relation to it. Guarantee it did.
here, I'm going to show you the pictures here that I've got of the van. This will show you that little box down here I put is where the body was seen. Okay. But that's the van
Oh
right
yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Now that's the panel van didn't have that many windows in it, did it?
It didn't have any back windows whatsoever.
So I
None.
thought, yeah, that's the kind of government likes, by the way.
So, but yeah,
I've
I'm
run
I'm
into
gonna put
those.
those pictures on the
I'll answer this question
I'm gonna
here.
put those
There are a lot
pictures.
of vampire societies in New Orleans. But before I do that, I want to say that after I had my incident run in with a vampire, and that's what she really was, I think. Actually seeing that huge bat. And believe me, now I'm not. I've had people say it was a seagull, it was something, it was an eagle. No, no, no. I've seen all that. This was a bat, and it was huge. I mean, it had to have at least a 5 or 6 foot wingspan to it. Okay, it was huge, and it's very strange that you would see something like that after the incident I had. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to that question about the vampire societies. I think a lot of them are, like I said, I think are demonically influenced by certain attributes of the demonic, but also some of this grew out of the goth movement. You know, the goth, and I have to say this about the goth, although it looks cool. And that's why a lot of young people like it. It's cool. Like that. It has a serious dark side to it, which is more of a death oriented, and it has evil aspects to it. It is very much like the vampire societies. I think a lot of vampire societies grew out of the goth movement, uh, and
Mhm.
that's what I was going to say about the vampire societies on that. But to me, the most interesting thing of all that is their worship of the vampire image. These societies before they love it, they think it's something they want to be that. And that's not healthy in that respect because, I mean, if you and I, William, want to be Superman or Batman, we don't get to put a costume out and go jumping off the buildings. Oh, we don't do that anyway.
Right.
We might admire something. we can admire something and really think it's good and would like to secretly be there, but we don't go ahead and do it. That's just the way that works. So there's something kind of sick about that kind of an obsession, especially with something like the vampire or even the werewolf. There are certain werewolf societies. There are certain societies they talk about werewolves. They want to be werewolves. They actually go out and hunt naked out in the woods. I mean, this is weird stuff, but they actually want to be werewolves. So you have a compulsion thing here going on, and I think the demonic feeds off of that and into it as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This just blew my mind seeing that. We've had run-ins with weird and strange stuff all the time. I mean, I lost count how many times I've interacted with Bigfoot. And it's just the first time I've seen this type of cleanup and completely erasing the fact that an incident happened at that intersection. And
I've heard of cleanup crews like that in certain Bigfoot incidences where people have actually, I know of a couple not that far from where I'm at, that actually said they hit Bigfoot crossing the road one night. They hit it with a car. And this was an older couple, nice Christian couple, had no reason to lie about it. They said they hit Bigfoot. They turned around a little further down the road and came back because they were worried it was somebody, but it looked like Bigfoot, okay? But they were worried, and they got back, so there was a van parked on the road, and there was a cop car there. That quick now. A cop car there, and stopped them and wouldn't let them go up there with a van. And said, you didn't know what the van was doing. It wasn't a coroner's van because it should have got coroner on it,
Right.
And he said, "It's okay, lady." He told the lady that they hit a cow or a young calf, something. And he said, "Well, we did not hit a cow. I mean, you can tell the difference between a cow and Bigfoot. Right. Come on." Yeah. And he said that was a very strange incident. Well, I call that a cleanup crew. It's like they've got the government. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I know without a doubt, and you do too, that the government has got his fingers, his handprints, his fingerprints all over cryptids, and they've got a reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It almost makes me think that that the government has implanted tracking chips in some of these cryptids and they don't know it. Like with a dart gun or something. That way they can be at the scene so quickly. Otherwise, how would they be at the scene so quickly if they didn't have a chip implanted into these cryptid creatures? They wouldn't know where they were tracking it.
You would have to. That's what I told this couple. They had to be tracking this thing to be there that quick. They had to be in route because there's no way, unless they was following it close behind. They had to.
And see, part about this whole scenario of seeing this thing is probably about, I want to say about 12 miles from us, there is an underground military facility, a dumb facility, a deep underground military bunker. Okay. And it's been reported that they're doing all kinds of like testing and stuff. There has been a lot of weird aerial phenomena here in the last several years. A lot of strange cryptid sightings here in the last year. And I honestly believe after seeing this van that it's all related to that dumb facility, okay, that deep underground military bunker.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. That's the way they operate.
So, I don't know. Maybe
anyway, I think if the government would definitely have an interest in cryptids, even if it were, like you said, like something like a werewolf, they would definitely want to experiment with something like that, and It could be a part of the super soldier thing we've talked about before, or it could be other things as well. This dark science, William, runs very deep and it's very, very dark.
Yeah.
They are monitored. Yeah, I believe that without a doubt.
No, I didn't see your earlier question, Robbie.
Please
If you could
repeat
put
that.
it down again. Yeah,
Can you
repeat it,
repeat
Robbie. I didn't see your earlier question. But yeah, my whole seeing of that van and stuff. I'm gonna, Robbie. I'll send you a picture of that van. Okay, I'll send you a picture of the van that I took in the location.
It looks just
If you
like the
want.
type of van that the government uses, though, William. It's usually a panel. It can be black or it can be white, but it's usually paneled with but I think only just a few windows in the front. That's the kind of paneled vans they like. I've seen them use it. I've seen them with government tags. Yeah, I've seen them with government tags on them like that. Yeah. Can't tell the tag on that. If we could blow it up, you might could see. But they do have fake dummy tags on those things too. By the way, they can use. Um, they don't have to have government markings on them. That's the way they operate.
Well, let's put it this way. The first three numbers on this license plate look like 777.
Ah, that's interesting.
And then it looks like 99 GL.
That sounds like a dummy tag. Yeah. Yeah, send me a picture of that when you get a chance. Send me a photo of that. I'd like to look at that a little bit closer. That sounds like a dummy tag. A dummy tags, you'll see they have repetitive numbers on them like that sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. And I've been thinking about that a lot too, because every time I go past that area, I'm always looking, whether it's in the morning or whether it's in the evening. I'm always looking around because at that intersection.
Well, think about this a minute, William. Okay, if you were experimenting with something like a werewolf, or even Bigfoot or anything like that, it would be kind of hard at times to control it. It could get away from you sometimes. You'd have to track it. You'd have to fix it so you could track it. If it did happen to escape or get away from you or leave the area that you didn't want it to leave, you definitely would be tracking it.
Oh, that's a good question, Robbie.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a possibility. I've got a picture, and I'm gonna try to get it off there. It's a very interesting video where this thing is flying in the sky, and it looks like it has membranes instead of wings, like membranes on it. This looks a lot like what Mothman would be described as. And it would not surprise me if Mothman was somehow another, we call him Mothman, would be more akin to the bat than it is to a moth. That's an interesting thing to think about that. And here's another thing. If you look at some bats, they don't have that much of a neck. If you look at them, the way some bats are constructed, they don't have as much of a neck, and that kind of falls in line for the description of Mothman too. When you think about it a little bit, because he was all said the head was down on the body more so than having a neck. You understand what I mean?
The only thing,
bad,
yeah, the only thing I would say that to disagree with that they could be connected to a vampire, other than their physicality, would be that there's been no reported incidences of vampiric actions or vampiric appetite.
That's yeah.
You know,
he does. Oh, by the way, in some reports, Mothman does have sort of a hypnotic effect, which vampires supposedly do. But here's the one thing that really kind of cinches the deal on Mothman for me, William, and I think you'll agree: the red eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And since vampires are demonic, that falls in line with Mothman to that certain extent.
He's right. Yes. And then you've also got to consider this too, Robbie and Jessica. This is going out to you guys. you also have to consider this. Our government, and Robbie, you know this for a fact, and so do you, Jessica. Um, our government has manipulated the genus species of every animal that they've gotten their hands on. Um, whether it's a super soldier program, whether it's, just the weird freaking stuff they're doing at DARPA facility down by you guys. Um, you know, it could be Mothman could be something that is genetically manipulated from a vampire species, okay, and combined its genus with that of some other type of
Other
being.
animals.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's another
Yeah.
thing. Here's another thing we've got to talk about, and I'll throw this out to Robbie and Jessica as well. The government also has definite demonic connections. Or else why would they be so interested in demonology?
Well, it's like, they always ask us investigators, because, of our longevity in it, it's like, they're asking us all this demonic stuff, inquiring with the paranormal investigators about the demonic side of things and the dark side of things and dark matter and dark energy and all this, Why do they want to know all this? Okay, because
Right.
they're monkeying with something they
They're
have
messing
no
around with something.
understanding of.
Yeah, when you mess around with something like that, you better know what you're doing. And if you don't, you better find out in a hurry because you're dealing with something so far outside the norm, it can be very detrimental to whatever it is you're doing. I agree with you. I agree with you. And but that's what I find so interesting. Why they want to know so much about demonology? Why are they so interested all of a sudden in demonology? Because they have found out that they're dealing with that.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. My brother from another mother's on here. Good old Rob. How we doing, Bigfoot, Michigan,
Hey,
Rob?
but
Um, he's another one I'd like to get in the conversation. We should really all just get together and do a podcast together. Rob,
a
Jessica,
round table.
Robbie. Yeah,
Let's do a
have a
round
big
table.
old just have a big old discussion on some of this stuff because the more that I have happen around me of the weird stuff, the more I question just how much the government knows. If they know more, a lot more than what I've imagined.
Well, that's what I'm
From
going to be
what I've
talking about
seen.
tonight. That's what I'm going to be talking about tonight on the show, the Demonology Today show. I'm going to be talking about the plan, and I think the plan involves our government to a great extent. And I think, we've often talked about the alien connection with our government, but let's not forget the demonic connection as well, because there's elements of both, I think, in this. There's some wild stuff going down on that. I know it sounds like some of the craziest conspiracy theories that are out there, but you've got to ask yourself one important question. What if it is only 10% true? We're in bad trouble here.
Yeah. But you got to figure this too, though, Dennis. Even the craziest of theories is based on some knowledge of
Fact.
fact.
Some fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous to think to assume that the government that controls everything that you and I do have nothing to do with the cryptids, have nothing to do with the UFOs, have nothing to do with the demons, you know?
Oh,
That
werewolves
is
or
the
even vampires.
that is
Yeah.
most absurd. Yeah, that is the most absurd. That's like living your life with blinders on and only seeing
Mm-hmm.
straight ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why they
You
put
know,
blinders on
the
horses.
government knows
Okay.
everything.
So listen. Here's the interesting thing I remember. That's why they put blinders on horses. They want that horse to go a certain way and no other way. Okay. It's nothing but sort of a way of mind controlling that horse. That's what you're doing. And that's what they want to do to us. But when it comes to people like us that think outside of that box and don't have those blinders on, they can't stand that, William. They hate that. They hate us for that reason. I'm surprised we haven't been interfered with today. Have you noticed how quiet everything's been today? No interference at all, because we were talking about something other than what they thought we were. But I think
Right.
you've got to remember that if we don't wear their blinders, they are against us, definitely.
Exactly. Well, hey, Robbie and Rob and Jessica, if you guys are down with that, if you guys, I don't think my StreamYard would be able to hold that kind of an internet feed. So we would probably have to do it on somebody else's channel. Robbie, I don't know if you and DA would be down with that. But maybe you and DA could put it together, because I know you guys have had a lot of guests on. Maybe we can do, you and DA, and then
we could try. We
Rob
could
and
try
Jessica,
StreamYard. We could try
yeah,
StreamYard one time and see if it works. Well, we could try it. It might work,
yeah. I'm just, they always screw with us, and it's like if they're screwing with us, that means they know exactly how to
And
do
I've
it.
noticed too. There's been some other people complain about that. I think Bettina Moss complained about that interference on her show. I know Jessica's had some interference on hers. I think Rob has too. I mean, that's par for the course. They don't want us getting this information out. And here's what makes me happy though. When they do that, I know we're getting just a little too close to the truth. You know?
Right, exactly. And they try to muffle us. And you know what? I'm sorry, I'm a big dude. Okay,
You're barking up the
and
wrong
I'm
tree.
yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree with this. I may be disabled, but my God, I'm not dead and I'm not stupid. Okay, well, let's put it out there right now. Okay, um, it is what it is. Okay, if they want to mess with somebody, yeah, fine, mess with me. My time is limited anyways. But
Bring it
you
on.
know, yeah, bring it on. I've got nothing to lose. But it's like, you know, every time the subject matter comes up, they always try to distort the audio, or make the video cut out, or
Weird noises and all that
yeah,
stuff.
it's ridiculous. It's like freedom of speech is no longer allowed, or
It's not. It's
how about
not really.
thought?
It's not. Our
The
freedoms are
independent
being
thought.
slowly stripped
I
away
mean,
from us. That's the bad thing. Our freedoms are slowly being stripped away, and we don't need to allow that. If we don't do something now, if we don't speak up, we're going to be in some bad, dire straits.
yep, exactly. And that's why we need to get our heads there about this, guys. Jessica, Rob, Robbie, Da, Dennis, me, we all need to get our heads together, and really, really, figure out what the hell is going on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if our government does know and is the reason for all this happening, let's bring it to light. I'm not saying let's expose the government secrets. God forbid expose the government secrets. We all know that we don't want to do that. But just bring it to light. Acknowledge it to a point to where people don't assume that they have to be crazy if they see these things. Okay, they don't need
William,
to know.
it's kind of like when you walk out in the woods at night. And, we've all been out in the woods at night. You can't really navigate good without your flashlight or your headlamp. Okay, if we shine our light into this darkness, we'll see what's there. They don't want that, but we'll see what's there. And that light needs to be shown sometimes, or we won't know where we're going.
Exactly. It's like Jessica just said. My guests kept getting kicked offline during my show last night.
Yeah.
And it goes back. It goes back to, maybe it's not even the government. Maybe it's somebody else's.
It could be demonic forces. It could be aliens for all we know. But somebody's up to something. I mean, that's it.
It could be the Council of 11. And you know why? What I call the Council of 11. I'm going to show you all the Council of 11. Okay, watch this. This is the Council of 11. Okay, this is power that control everything. Right there. That's the Council 11. Okay, if you want to know about control, if you want to know about manipulation of the masses, there it is.
There it is. Yeah, there it
Look
is.
at, look at the companies. Look at the companies that these individuals own, that these corporations own. Okay, you couple these 11 with BlackRock. BlackRock is invested in every company you see on that grid. Okay, every company. BlackRock. Look them up. Okay.
Yep.
BlackRock is more has more financial investment in the world than 121 countries GPAs, gross national products. Okay.
And who?
They're
And here's the
phenomenal.
question, William. Here's the question, William. Who is behind BlackRock? You know, who is the real force
Exactly.
behind it? That's what you got to look for.
Exactly.
I think the Chinese Communist Party's got a lot to do with it, definitely. But there's something even deeper than that, I think. There's something even more insidious than that, if that's possible, that's in behind it.
Yep.
That's true, Jessica. Very
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, is on that. Disney is on that. Disney is actually a subsidiary of one of them companies, Robbie, which you're going to be amazed. Anybody screenshots. I mean, if you want,
there's a lot of streaming companies, streaming and media, and newspapers, magazines, the horse.
Glitch in the Matrix.
Oh,
you know, and Rob knows. He knows. I've talked about the whole glitch in the Matrix thing numerous times, and I've actually done the research on it. Here's a little test, okay? Tonight, before you all go to bed, I want you to close your eyes, okay? When you're laying down, and I want you to take your two knuckles, okay? And I want you to rub your eyes. Keep your eyes tightly closed. Rub your eyes for about a minute, minute and a half, and tell me what kind of pattern you see. Because if we didn't have some type of a matrix built into our system, our physicality, we wouldn't see patterns when we close our eyes, especially when we're rubbing them. Okay. So tell me what kind of patterns you see, because every time I talk to somebody and I tell them to do that, they tell me they either see squares upon squares upon squares upon squares like graph paper.
But here's an interesting thought.
Or diamonds.
Here's an interesting thought. What if the matrix is naturally occurring part of the fabric of the universe, but certain forces can manipulate it when they want to?
Yeah. Exactly. And manipulation, we all know who does the manipulation in our world.
Yep.
We all do. I don't even have to say it. I don't even have. I guarantee you all know. Comcast, Xfinity, they are part of the Disney corporate insignia. But yeah, I'm telling you, BlackRock is evil.
With companies like that, like BlackRock, when they control everything that you see and hear and buy, the very life that you live is under their control. Like William said earlier in the program, slavery, people, I have to tell you, still exists, and it's more insidious now than it has ever been in mankind's history, because the slaves' chains of this can't be seen. They're invisible, but they're there, and they're stronger than iron chains ever could be. They've got us right where they want us, and we have to be very careful. We need to know that. We need to realize that. And when they can control everything you see, hear, the food that you eat, you know, your very life is under their control. You're not free. I'm sorry, but you're not.
Yeah,
TikTok,
exactly.
yeah, that's a Chinese thing. That's a Chinese balloon, spy balloon. TikTok.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, it's and here you go. Yeah. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Rob knows. It's exactly what it is. It's a grid pattern. It's a grid pattern. When you close your eyes and you lay down,
You're
close your eyes
with it.
tightly, and you just
You're
rub them,
manipulating.
you're gonna see that grid pattern. You know, if we weren't part of a matrix, why are we seeing a grid pattern? We're not a computer. We would be
You're looking
seeing
at the matrix.
veins or stuff like looks like veins on our eyelids. We would see something, or even red, maybe just the color red. But no, we don't.
Yeah.
As flesh and blood, we should see red. We should see veins. Okay. Why do we see grid patterns?
That's kind of like that.
Hey,
You remember that? Remember that picture years ago? It was a picture of a woman, and it had dots on her forehead, and you would stare at those dots so long, and then look away, and you see the whole picture. That's the way the mind,
yeah.
the eyes reflect these things. It's interesting. What if you are seeing the Matrix? And like I say, what if it's a naturally occurring thing? The fabric of the universe is the Matrix, but it can be manipulated. It can be torn when you want to, or it can be pushed aside. It can be manipulated. That's insidious, because what you're doing is you're messing around with the very universe itself. That's bad.
Okay, Rob. Now I want Rob to actually acknowledge this. Is that what you see, Rob? If that's what you see, let me know. That's what I see. I've been studying this for a long, long time, folks. A long time. Okay. I've even studied it more since I've died and come back from the cancer. So, when they and I first realized the whole matrix connection to the physicality of humans was when they knocked me out for surgery, for my first cancer surgery. As I was going out, I saw that grid pattern. As I was coming to 9 hours later, I saw that grid pattern.
You'll see that too when you pass out. If you've ever passed out, you see that. By the way, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
it could be manipulating the blood in your eyeballs a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't do it too hard. Okay.
Yeah. Don't do it too hard. Just do it enough to where you can rotate your eyelids over your eyeballs. And trust me, you'll see a grid pattern. But do it before you go to bed, just as you're getting tired. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's almost like your body is rebooting like a computer. Okay. It's almost like your body being tired is slowly shutting down. Okay. Where's your spirit go at night? Where's your soul go at night? Nobody can answer that question.
Does it go into hibernation, or does it go to somewhere else?
Nobody knows. Nobody studied it. Nobody has
You
studied
know,
it.
Edgar Allan Poe had that question about the premature burial. When you die and you come, when you're dead and you come back, where was your soul? Where was it at all this time? In that limbo or what? That's an interesting thing. Now, here's another experiment if you want to do. Now, you better not do this or you'll get hurt. But if you think you have incredibly good balance, try standing on your bed in the dark one night. You'll find out. You'll
Yeah.
find out you don't. You can become disoriented very easily in certain things, And like I said earlier about walking in the woods at night, that's an interesting thing. If you can run through the woods at night without breaking your neck or getting yourself killed, you have an incredibly wonderful gift that animals only have. You have that perfect night vision that we don't have.
Right.
Just like what we were talking about with a werewolf and all that. A werewolf, you can see him running through the forest at night after a deer because he's got good eyesight. He's got, night vision, but you don't have that unless you got scopes
Exactly.
to do it.
Exactly. The fact of the matter is, I'm not saying this for everybody to think I'm weird. I mean, I'm always weird. Everybody knows that anyways. Okay. But, being weird is good because I think outside the box. But, going through what I've gone through, okay, dying, coming back, you have a different way of looking at things.
Perspective.
Yeah, you have a different the way you look at things is more in depth. You look for more
Perception is different.
Yeah, your perception's different, but you're
I know,
looking
I've been
for
there. I've been
more
there. I know what
content.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
When I've been there, it gives you a completely different perception on things.
It's like you're feeding
Uh,
a hunger. It's like you're feeding a hunger. Yeah, it really is. And you're right, it is more vivid during the night. You're right, Rob.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's one thing.
So,
It's something about the night. The body begins to settle down. And they say in science, you're no more closer to death than when you're asleep. Your body slowly goes down. The heart rate goes down. Breathing goes down. You're in a somnambulistic state. It's very close to death.
yeah. The more you do that at night, if you do it every night, you'll see patterns more clearly. You'll see that there's a connection to it. It's like your brain is a computer, and you're erasing parts of the grid. You're checking parts of the grid by doing that with your eyes. It's really weird.
What you said earlier, William, is more like that movie Flatliners. You remember that? They would actually die and bring themselves back because they were having an experience beyond death, kind of a thing. You remember that movie Flatliners?
Yeah.
A lot,
Yeah,
and I've talked
Flatliners.
to a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people who have had near-death experiences, and they have come back. And the things they saw, they do describe patterns like you're talking about. They describe tunnels. Their perception goes completely different than from what it was before this happened. It's almost as if you're experiencing a different realm of reality. That's the only way I can put it.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's been great. It's been 2 hours. I want to thank everybody for being here. This has been quite the subject. And, try that experiment tonight before you go to bed. It's really, it'll blow your mind. And the more you do it, the more you'll see. And, it's really, really odd how you see these things, and then you think about the matrix, and maybe we are part of a matrix. Maybe we are all just some little minute part of a matrix. Maybe our body is somewhere stasis in a chamber, and this is our mind and our avatar. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Oh
there it
yeah.
is
Oh,
that.
your
Maybe,
consciousness. Your consciousness is somewhere different.
yeah.
Yeah. Than that. Yeah.
So I don't
That's
know. It's
interesting.
just weird. Tonight, and maybe the following couple nights, and see if you see it. Because the more you do it, the more you see. And it's really fascinating to me to think that what, maybe there is something to this whole matrix thing, but it's not fully. It's not like it's either fully 100% or it's just fractionally that we're connected to a
And
matrix.
William, it's like people have always described the barrier between life and death as a veil. And it is kind of like that. When the veil parts, you see what's beyond it. And you might get a glimpse of that, like the Matrix you're talking about. If the veil is kind of pulled aside, why these things happen in certain ways, you have to wonder if maybe that's what you're catching a glimpse of, something like that maybe you're not supposed to,
Right.
but you do.
Yeah. I mean, all you got to do tonight before you fall asleep is close your eyes and take the two knuckles and just rub your eyes together. Okay. And the more you do it, the longer you do it. That's why I say do it for about a minute and a half. You'll see the grid pattern. Okay. And if we were fully biological, we wouldn't see a grid pattern. We would see the blood vessels of our eyelid, and we would see light leakage, and we would see red because of the blood in our eyelids. Okay. You won't see that. You'll see grid patterns. You'll see squares. You'll see
In other words,
diamonds.
you
You'll see
should be you
triangles.
should be seeing blood veins in your eyelid. That's what you should be seeing.
Yeah,
What else is it?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's why I say just try it and see what happens. It's not going to hurt
But
anything.
don't
You're
do
not.
but don't do the experiment of standing on your bed in the dark. You're only gonna break your neck. Okay, don't do that. But that shows you
Yeah.
how you can get off balance in certain situations, and that's when it changes. Like William said, it changes your perspective on things. Uh, that's kind of like those chambers that people can lie in and float in the water in the dark, and you can lose
Right. Yeah.
you're almost like you lose complete feeling of your body. Your mind begins to wander. Your consciousness actually seems to leave your body. The thing.
Yeah. But when we sleep at night, it's almost like we're a computer shutting down. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
during our sleep process is when we get an upload or upgrades to our matrix part of our system. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because where does our spirit
System
go?
shut.
Does our spirit
Yeah.
stay in the body, or does our spirit wander? Okay.
Wander.
Now I know from fact, being Native American and doing a lot of the dream walking and stuff, you know, we can exercise our spirit to walk other areas of the universe, okay, as a whole, in other dimensions. We have that
The conscious.
capability. Yeah. Now, if we have that capability within us and we have the power to manifest, that's energy. Okay. Energy is part of the matrix.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's the makeup of the matrix actually.
So,
Energy is the universe. Einstein said that there is nothing. All energy exists. It never goes away, only in some form or another. So the matrix would have to be a grid of energy, would it not? Really? Think about it. Makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, just try that little experiment tonight, guys, and just, do it for about a minute and a half, rub your eyes closed, and see what kind of pattern comes up, because I guarantee if you're rubbing it to where it's red and you see lines and stuff like lightning bolts, that's your veins. Okay. That's normal. That's something you should see. Okay. Or yellow like light leakage. Okay. um but if you're rubbing it and once you get like past a minute, you'll start seeing the grid pattern. Okay. You'll start seeing squares, white squares, purple squares, white square, black square. You'll see diamonds, you'll see triangles, you'll see triangles shaped like squares. You'll see a triangle like this, and then the other part of the box, the square like that. It's weird. You'll see a matrix.
Well, William, you got to remember this. Our eyes are connected to the brain, okay? And that's why we talk so much about, we have to be very careful about pareidolia, because the brain is always constantly trying to make a sense out of images. But when you interfere with that, like what you're talking about with the eyes, when you interfere with that, you're kind of closing the brain off a little bit from doing that. You see what I'm saying? You're naturally stopping the brain from doing that.
Yeah, just try that tonight, before you go to bed, or like DA, when you go to sleep at like 4 a.m. and get up at noon. Anyways,
you wake up in an alley somewhere, wake up in an alley. But that's another story. Anyway, there's DA. Good morning, DA. You're late. Okay. Sorry, you're late.
Go to your room.
He probably was up all night, right? He just woke up, I guess. I've been there. I know how that is.
Well, he's up all night writing his books and stuff, so we're not going to bust too hard on that. So, very true, DA. Very true. He says, I'm the Nighthawk and he's the Night Owl. Very true. Well, we all know he stays up late and writing his books and stuff. So we're not going to get on him about that.
As long as we're Nighthawks and Night Owls, we're at least not nightmares, okay?
Yeah, no nightmares. Yeah. So, DA, you might want to go back and rewatch the whole program because it's been very interesting for 2 hours. Very interesting.
Yeah.
In fact, you might even get some book ideas out of this show. You never know.
It may be the next book may be about vampires and werewolves. There, DA. Okay.
And the Matrix.
And the Matrix.
Well, everybody, it's been great. Even though DA came in late, he still came in. I appreciate that, brother. I know you're up all night writing your books and stuff, so that's no biggie. But his show last night with my good friend Doug, hi check. Yeah, Doug is an awesome guy. His son too is an awesome kid. Not a kid, he's a young man, but to me he's a kid. To me, DA's son is a kid. Right, DA? But that show last night with Doug Hychek was a very, very good show. And see, the one thing that DA and you and I, Dennis, have in common with our shows is we tend to go off the rails. We tend to go off subject onto other things, and that leads us into other explorations. And
here's the way I look at it, William. Here's the way I look at it. If it ain't worth going off the rails for, it ain't worth going. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to find fully the answers you're looking for unless you think way outside the box. And we all know that. And
yep.
Rob does it on his program a lot. Bigfoot Michigan, Rob does it. Jessica does it. And that's why we all are here for one another, because we all do the same thing. We go off subject, and we explore other possibilities every time we come on. We open up
that
box,
makes us the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the Weirdo Warriors. Okay.
Yeah, Weirdo Warrior family. You remember that? Yeah, Rob, you're part Bigfoot Michigan. Rob, you're part of the Weirdo Warrior
your cup
family.
Don't forget
Robbie,
to get that cup, baby.
Family. DA, you're part of the Weirdo Warrior family. Jessica, you're part of the Weirdo Warrior family. Barry Littleton, I'll even tell him, he's part of the Weirdo Warrior family. So Jessica, you make sure you tell him. So, anyways, we will see you all next time. Okay. We're going to be doing Becoming Monsters. Okay. Next Friday. And I think this time we're going to delve into the Mothman. We're going to explore everything about the Mothman that we can. Okay. We're going to go so far deep into this subject that I might even disappear. So look for it. Okay. Look for it. It's going to be a good one Friday night at 10 o'clock Eastern. The Mothman on Becoming Monsters. Okay. And then, of course, our Saturday and Sunday morning program. So,
the Mothman is coming for you. Okay.
It's going to be a good, trust me. And Robbie, we're going to get to a lot of weird. In fact, maybe I'll even bring Robbie. I'm going to send you a link to that show, okay? Because we're going to bring you on, Robbie, okay? If that's okay with you, it'd be 10 o'clock Friday night, okay? Eastern. All right. Let me know in Messenger if that's going to be okay with you, Robbie, okay? And then we'll bring DA on hopefully too. I'm just with my internet speed here, I can't really do a lot of guests at the same time. The most I can get away with is 4 of us on here at the same time. So that being said,
we'll do part 1 and then pick up with some other people on part 2. I mean,
yeah, that's true too. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. So that's the other thing I wanted to discuss too with the whole sawdust thing. So yeah, I've seen that. So I know about that. Trust me. Cleaned it up. So I know. Yeah, it's a vast question. Okay, it's a question that mankind has been asking themselves since the dawn of mankind, since the dawn of creation. Why are we here? What are we? Is there an everlasting? Is there more to the whole system or makeup of? And these are the questions we seek to answer through paranormal. Okay, these questions we seek to answer through remote viewing, through talking to spirits, through interacting with Bigfoot or Dogman or the little people or elementals, the spirits. These are the questions we have. Okay, and we are the type of individuals that have that hunger and that thirst for more, and we seek and seek and seek until we find.
That's why we're here for. That's why we gather, and that's why we ask the questions. We want to know.
Exactly. And the more we ask questions and the more we look outside of the realm of possibility, the more we are enlightened, I guess is how you can say it.
It's like I said, it's like I always said, William, this is my quote. I believe in the impossible because I have seen the possibility of possibilities. Right. Anything is possible. Definitely.
Yep, definitely. Robbie, if you can get with DA and talk to him about our idea. And DA is like, oh God, what are they getting me into? All right. Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here. I know everybody's out there. Everybody's been great in the chat. I've been trying to calm up and keeping up, buddy. If you can, DA say heart and share this out and subscribe. Because it's going to get Weirdo Warrior family. It's going to get even weirder. So we're really going to be going on some subject matter this year. Trust me, we are going to go deep dive into some really good subjects.
They
I'm
don't know
actually
what
putting it in
real
my
weird is. Now we're gonna get there though.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out some stuff. So, but try test, okay? Everybody out there, try that test tonight, okay? Try it tomorrow night, try it the night afterwards, and see what kind of grid pattern you see, okay? You will see it, okay? And if we didn't have a part of the matrix, we wouldn't be seeing that. We would be seeing the blood veins and stuff in our eyelids. We would be seeing the red and the white from the compression of the eyelids, you know. We shouldn't be seeing a grid pattern. Okay. I'm just putting that out there. Okay. I'm just putting that out there to everybody. Try that tonight. Okay. And let me know what send me a message in Messenger and let me know what you thought. Okay. Okay. We will see you all Friday night at 10 o'clock. If we go live during the week sometime, it'll be something short, sweet, and to the point. And I may pop on during the week. You never know with me. So I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Get out,
Take care.
enjoy it, have that extra cup of coffee, you know, have fun today, get out and enjoy it. Don't worry about the problems of the world because you know what? You're weirdo warriors and you're an army, okay? And no army can stop us, okay? As they try to shut us down on individual podcasts, as we all know, no force other than the force of God can stop us. So, that being said, everybody question everything and stay real. Okay. Stay real and stay strong. All right. And we're a family. So if you need us, let us know. Okay. Everybody take care. We will Friday night and possibly sometime during the week, maybe. We'll see you all then.